Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Come on in. Come on in. Welcome. Happy Sunday to everyone. Peace and love to everybody. Come on in. Let me send off a few of these notices and I'll be right with y'all. Just hold on 1 second. Uh, I'll be right with you guys. Come on in. Let me say the music that you may hear on my background, I do not have the rights to. So let me say that. Mm. Come on in, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Tonight, our subject we're going to be talking about is two separate situations. One, we'll be talking about guerrilla Hebrews. Wife finally came out and she finally gave her side of the story. And also, we will be talking about Nature Boy and his wives just did a interview on Sinetta. And where I said, and then also Janae, the accuser of Nature Boy, also did an interview with Nepal on Sinetta, which was really a good interview. So we're going to dive right in. It is Sunday. I hope everybody had a blessed Sunday, a powerful Sunday. Shout out to everyone. Shout out to um, all of my faithful followers and my family. Shout out to who um, is watching me on Facebook. Now, if you are watching me on Facebook, I cannot see your comments at all. I cannot see your comments. Let me see if it even posted over there while we are waiting. Because I did some stuff to my StreamYard and I just want to make sure that I did it correctly. So give me a moment. Let me pull up Facebook. I'm going to have to switch over to my other account. But I hope everyone's doing well. Monday is right around the corner. We back in the saddle again on Monday. It is right around the corner. See here, what was I doing? Let me switch over. Yeah, child. Uh, okay. Let me do this right quick. Hello, hello, welcome. Come on in. This is going to be a great live. We are talking about relationships. We're going to play a clip from Gorilla Hebrews, wife who has came and said her truth, and we also are going to listen to some of Nature Boy's wives who have came out. They did a show on Sinetta. So we're going to listen to both of them tonight. While I'm doing this, y'all go ahead, get yourselves ready, get you yourself comfortable because this is going to be a live. Get yourselves comfortable. I'm just seeing and see if it came, if it's coming on to Facebook. Because I actually put it over there to stream there too. Don't see it. Okay, well, we're not going to worry about it. But I did want it to stream over there, and I'm not going to go back and redo anything. But anyways, let me post it at least, and if they want to join, they can join. They can join the live. Come on in. Come on in. This is going to be a real good, a really good live. We are diving straight in. Uh, we are diving straight in. Let's see here. Okay. All right, so let's get into it. And as I always say, anybody who may be new to my channel, you may not know, but my house is very much lived in. So you may hear Pluto, you may hear my grandson, you may hear one of my daughters come in, you may hear my husband in and out. You will hear things. This is not a quiet place, okay? Even with doors closed and things, you will hear bumps. And everybody know that wherever I am in the house, Pluto is most definitely there, or he is right outside the door. So, as y'all can see, I am barefaced tonight, no makeup at all, which my sister always says that she's surprised if I come on like that because she's so used to me getting glammed up. But you know, as I get older, it's easier just to be natural. All right, guys. So we're going to dive straight into it. What I want to do first is I want to go ahead and play some of the clip from let me go here. I want to play some of the clip from what GRLA Hebrew said, and we're going to discuss some of what she said. Let's see here. We're going to discuss some of what she said. Opinions on it, and then we're going to talk about, as we're watching, we're going to talk about relationships and healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships. So let's do that. Everyone, come on in, get yourself comfortable. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So I have found it. Okay. So to give people a background on what was happening with Hebrew Israelite GRLA. Peace and love, brother. Peace and love. Glad to see you. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is not necessarily the guilt or not guilt of the brother or the sister. What we are really going to dive into once we hear some of her side and some of once we hear what Nature Boy's wives have to say, we're going to talk about a healthy relationship and a not healthy or not so healthy relationship as we see the progression of these relationships. Most relationships start off great, right? You're in love, you're loving life. As my mama say, you could drink their bath water, and then after a little while, you wish you had. Um, but we're going to really talk about the progression of the relationships. What happened? What were the signs? What should we look for as we go into our next relationships and those type of things? So let's dive in and talk about it, because I think it's some things that need to be said. So I'm gonna play some of it, and then we're gonna go into discussing it. As you come in, please hit the like button. Please share this live. Guys, please share the live. Hubby, if you need to say something, just wave my hand and I'll mute my mic. Okay. Oh, okay. Did she call her? Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and share this. And let's see what she says. Some of them. We're gonna skip through. We're not gonna listen to the whole thing because it's long. It's like 2 hours long, and we're not gonna listen to the whole thing, but we're gonna listen to some of it. Okay.
Became concerned because there was an escalation. Um, with him, it just seemed like it just became more and more and more like it needed to be a part of our sex life. Um,
Shout out to
and
Shar. I
then it was
can't
the
pronounce
people he
the
would
last
surround
name, but
himself
this
with,
is off his
the
channel. He has
places he would go,
1,600
um,
subscribers. Go ahead
things
and
like,
join the brother's
Naya's
channel. If
cousin,
you view
former
the whole thing, go
prostitute.
to the brother's
Naya was a former
channel.
prostitute, former stripper. The sister was a prostitute, or former prostitute turned whatever. Um, but it was
We
just,
do
and these
have
were the kind of
copyright
people
up.
that
We
were
do have
around
the
him. This
copyright
was the
up,
kind of
guys.
him going into clubs. You have to
And the
understand,
fair
like, he'll
use
say
up.
shit like I
We
was
do have fair use up.
disagreeable and, disrespectful, but
Let me put the
I
warning
knew
up too.
the kind of demon that was on him. I knew being around certain women, going into certain places like these clubs and things like that, all of these things are temptations. I had a fear that he would eventually seek this out elsewhere because he knew, despite what I was willing to entertain within the confines of our marriage bed and text messaging, that I would never cross that line.
Okay, so let me say this about something that she is saying. Like I said, we're talking about relationships. We are not here to place blame and all of that. That is not what this live is for. This live is to hopefully be a help to someone who may be going through something um, or experiencing something like this. One thing that she's talking about is number one, and like I said, go to the brother's channel and watch the whole live. But one thing she's saying is she said, "Hey, look, when we first got together, there were some things that he liked to do, some quirky things that I particularly didn't care for. And he kind of hit around, but I just kind of went along with it, because sometimes a person, you may see a lot of good in a person, a lot of great things that you really like about a person, but there's one or two little quirky things that you really don't care for, but because the person seems so good and the other things seem to outweigh those one or two things, you tend to kind of overlook it. So she's basically saying, look, I kind of saw some quirky things and I kind of overlooked it. But I knew it was there. So when the brother decided to do certain things like go to a strip club, which should have not been the factor being a man of righteousness. Um, when the brother started hanging around certain type of women, the sister was concerned because she said, hey, she knows these desires and weaknesses that he has over here. And as a partner, a lot of times, especially if you've been with that partner for a while, their weaknesses. And so, certain things that could be a trigger for them that you're not comfortable with them involving themselves with because it could lead to something else. So, this is kind of where she's talking about her concern. So, let's go on.
Although he tried to get me to. And I suppose that's what made me disagreeable and disrespectful because I saw shit and I called shit out when I saw it. I don't know if anybody found it strange who follows my husband on any of his social media platforms. I don't follow him. I never have. That doesn't mean I don't support him on YouTube and things like that, but this was my way of staying in order because there were things that I saw and places I seen him in and women I seen him around that I was concerned about because of what I knew he was dealing with. I'm supposed to be his tower against death. I guess that made me disagreeable. It made me disrespectful. When he started having back problems and I went to see a chiropractor, and then I guess it was recommended massages might help as well. When I found out that Naya's cousin turned, who was a prostitute, who then became a masseuse, was starting to give him massages, I took issue with that. And I said something to him about it. I told him, I'm just giving you guys an example of just some of the shit that he might have called me being disagreeable about or disrespectful. Um, I said something about that. I was like, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't think that's a good idea. She has a past. I understand she's a masseuse now.
Okay, so right here, the sister is talking about um her husband, Gorilla Hebrew, who Naya was his first wife. Which I, from what I gather, allegedly they went back and forth in a relationship. Okay. Um, and so Naya, when she's mentioning friend or sister, I can't remember, um, was a lady of the night, and he went to for massages, and she had an issue with that. Now, personally speaking, I believe any woman who cares for their husband would have an issue with that. Um, and the reason being is, even though someone may change their let's say profession, the question is how much of their heart have they changed, and have they done a uh, uh, spiritual healing or enlightenment, um, would be the question, and how deep, because we all know, all of us who have at one time, as we say, walked in darkness, or uh before we found ourselves in God, we did things. We truly did things, and we're not the same person now as we were then. We view things differently because now we know better. But it took time. It was a progression. You just didn't change overnight. One minute you said I'm saved. The one minute I found the life of I found the truth. You change your name, and boom, all of a sudden you were just righteous. It took time. It was a process, of healing. It was a process of getting rid of old habits. It was a process of moving away from old friends. It was a process of dealing with as we say, those negative thoughts coming in your head. And it was a process of getting rid of old desires, and the desires are the worst. Okay. It was a process to do all that, to become the new you. You just didn't become this miracle overnight. It was a process. So I would be concerned too that this young woman, what was her process before my husband went to her? What was the process? What was really going on? And this is where two, when we talk about a relationship, you both meet. I've been married for 25 years now, and with my husband, we talk. So if there is something I don't agree with, he's not just going to do it because he's the man. He's going to listen to me why I don't agree with it. And if it's something that he feels is really bothering me, or could be a point of issue, then he's going to more than likely go another way. So if my husband wanted to go to a masseuse, and he said, "Hey," and I knew she was a ex, lady of the night, he's going to be, and I said, "Hey, baby, I don't feel comfortable with that." That's not going to stop him from going to a masseuse. He just won't go to that masseuse. Okay. That is where you showing respect for one another. Okay. It's relationships are not a two-way street. Okay, it takes work and it takes 50-50, but it takes both people working, and you have to be working and going toward the same goal of the same going in the same direction. Okay, you have to be going in the same direction, because when you're not going in the same direction, it's not going to work out. Things are going to get messed up. So she's already said, I'm not comfortable with this. So they could have met in the middle and said, hey, I don't have a problem with you going to a masseuse because you're having back issues, but how, let's pick another masseuse. Let's continue on and see what else she says.
She has a past, but I have reason to believe certain behaviors are still very much a part of who she is, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Of course, Masali, here you go. You always making something out of nothing. Always da. You know, it's not like that. You know, she's got her certification. She actually gives massages, and I'd rather pay her than go and pay a heathen and blah blah blah. I'm always the bad guy, right? So I had to just take a step back off that. I'm saying that for a reason. This is going to be important. Stick with me, Israel. I'm trying not to, you know, but I need y'all to really understand what I'm saying. So it was things like that. So anyways, fast forward, um, we go to Feast of First Fruits. I will have to look at the date to, be 100% in terms of timeline. But anyway, there was a Feast of First Fruits. By this time, I moved back to Atlanta. I'm staying in an Airbnb at the time. He had me come back to Atlanta, but still hadn't had a place for me to go. So I was staying in an Airbnb at this time. Feast of First Fruits. We were at the school. I don't recall what it was that Naya had told me or had revealed to me that he hadn't told me about, but whatever, it pissed him off. Because it pissed me off. I got upset because I found out obviously some more stuff. There's one thing my sister wife was good for. Like she would tell me shit that was going on that he didn't want me to know about for obvious reasons because I'm in the truth. If anybody's gonna tell him he's dead wrong about something, it's gonna be me, which is what made me disagreeable and disrespectful. So we're leaving Feast of First Fruits. I'm upset with him about what Naya has revealed to me. He finds out Naya revealed it to me. And this is the first time that I witnessed with my own eyes him assault her. We were getting ready to leave. By this point, a majority of the school had cleared out. It was pretty much just, I think, like one or two brothers that were straggling, but they were getting ready to get in their car and take off. Hassad was there, myself, Naya, all of the kids.
Now, all this is allegedly because we were
And
not there, but this is her truth.
I got
That
upset,
we're
got in my
listening
car,
to.
got ready to leave. Of course, he's screaming and yelling because of how I'm reacting to the information that I've heard. Um, so he's upset. I'm getting ready to leave. I close my door. Of course, he's angry that I'm angry, that he's a liar, and puts two dents in my car, um, which I still have to this day. He never did fix that. While he's talking about buying Janae a new car. But one thing you ain't gonna do is play with me and talk about you take care of my kids and you take care of me, because bitch, you gonna take care of me. You never bought my fucking new car, bitch. And I'm really pissed about that. I should come play in your fucking tires and make sure ass. So that's what I'm mad about. And then you talking about mad because ruffle some feathers because you was in Cancun.
Okay, so this is apparently another of his wives, which I'm not going to listen to all of that. Okay, so here's the deal, guys. When we're talking about people who have something has happened and you're getting secondhand of the story, it is always his truth, her truth, and then the truth. Okay. We don't know. We were not there. So I'm not keeping um, either way. But I am here to talk about relationships, and I am here to talk to women about who we are. How do we get caught up in these situations where we have to explain ourselves or we're explaining our way out of these relationships that we know, number one, we should not be in. First of all, I'm going to say this. I am not one of those people who agree with um, so-called men in America having more than one wives. Number one, because we live in this land, we live on the in the United States. The law prohibits us from having more than one mate, and there is a reason why. And you need to ask yourself. And it's not just the white man saying, "Oh, we don't want y'all to have more than one wives." There are reasons why that practice was ended. Two, if you are one of those people who want to get into those type of relationships, um, you need to be real with yourself about the relationship that you're getting yourself into, and you need to be very aware of it. Now, we can go back to religious terms and in the religious times and talk about having more than one wife. Yes, it was allowed. Yes, it is allowed um, in religious circles. But at the time when that was written, when those laws was written, we have to remember it was totally different. Number one, there were times of war, and in war, of course, all the men go to war, and you have all these women that need to be taken care of. And the proper way to do that would to be to take a woman in your home, but take her as a wife, where you're taking care of her like you're doing all of your wives. It wasn't one that you did more for one than the other. Everybody was supposed to have equal in that. Everybody, and everybody had a job in that system. Two, we have to remember that women couldn't necessarily work back then. You couldn't work. You couldn't in most countries, you couldn't at that time, you couldn't, purchase land and all of that. So you had to have a male figure, whether it be your husband, your father, your brother, your husband's father, your husband's brother. It had to be a male figure. So now we come back to 2025. We don't have those issues here in America, that it is necessary to have a man to have all these wives. Also, unless you were a man who had a farm, who was building a farm, who was building a life, um, it's really not a necessity like it was then to have these wives. Now, I said that to say this. If that is a lifestyle that you have chosen, I'm not one to judge. Feel free. That's your life. It's between you and your God. But let's be real about it. In the United States of America, there's only one wife that's going to be able to claim that man and claim his benefits and have any say so over anything that happens to him. For instance, if he goes into the hospital, I don't care if you live with that man 80 years, you have no rights to tell the doctor anything or even ask the doctor anything. You have no rights to his social security. It may not seem like an issue now, but wait till you get in your 60s and that your body is starting to fail you. That's going to be an issue if you can have rights to his social security. Trust and believe that. A lot of women don't know this. In the United States, their first wife has the right to his social security. Okay? You have the right to his social, not the second, even if he's married, the first wife still has the rights to the social security. So when y'all get to social security age, he could be a man who has worked his whole life and has a very nice social security. And you think because you're married to him now, you have the right to it. No, the first wife has the right to that social security. And the only way you're going to get it if she doesn't need it, um, or she don't know that she has the right to it. So you will not have, if you're one of the second, third, fourth wives, so-called wives, because you're not considered a wife in the United States, you're considered a girlfriend or a mate, but you're not considered a wife. You will not be able to get his social security. If he dies, you will not get death benefits. If he works at a job, you will not get that. The first wife, even if the first wife and him are not together and you and him have been living together 20 years, whoever, even if he says, I want my second wife to get all of my benefits or my girlfriend to get it, no, the first wife will still have a legal leg to fight you on and receive his benefits. So, anybody who is in these polygamous relationships, you need to really understand what you are involved in. While you're young, you don't think about a lot of things. But the reality is, you need to know that you are um, cheating yourself out of a lot of things when you are a second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever wife, so-called wife, things you're not going to get. Um, I had a incident where a couple had been together for over 40 years. I guess apparently they decided they were not going to get married. They had been married before to other people, and they brought all these properties. Okay, they brought all these properties throughout Georgia and Florida and California. And so when it came down to it, the man died. So the girlfriend decided, hey, I'm older now. She was in her 80s. I'm older. I'm gonna sell them all and retire, and that's it. Well, as she started to sell those properties, one of his sisters found out. So the sister said no, because he didn't have a wife or his first wife died or whatever. The family now has rights to all of his properties. So even though he had lived with this woman for 40 years, and think about this, he's lived with this woman for 40 years. They both have paid into buying and buying these properties, building these properties, running these properties for all these years. Family had not a hand in it. Ain't gave one dime. Now that this man has passed away, the family, his sister, is now got all rights to half of everything they owned. Everything they owned. And she's never gave one dime. That's law. So when you're talking about being a wife and you are not legally married, you have to remember, no matter what you build with this man, whatever you build with him comes in question when it comes to law. So just know that. I just want to throw that out there to make you aware. Be aware of what you're getting into. That's just part of when you're talking about being another wife. Now, from this whole thing with Gorilla Hebrew is upsetting. It is disappointing, because when we see men who put themselves, or women who put themselves out there as righteousness, we tend to want them to act righteous and to be righteous. And when we find that they are not righteous or acting righteous, it really bothers us. And it turns a lot of people away from trying to be righteous, because they look and say, hey, why should I be righteous? Hey, here's a leader right here. He ain't doing right. He in front of us looking clean, but he dirty as dirt behind the scenes. Hey, why would I want to be an upstanding righteous woman when she just is hoish as the woman on the street? So there has to be some morality and some values when we talk about being righteous and carrying ourselves as a righteous person. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna finish playing this clip, some of this clip. I'm gonna skip past this part though, because I really go back to her. So we're gonna finish listening to Gorilla Hebrew's wife a little bit more.
And I accepted it. What a lot of people have to understand is some of the stuff that you guys are finding out now, in terms of like Shamila, which is the blood sister of Naya, the one that he slept with. I did not know until everything came out. That's why when I'm hearing people saying, well, she knew this kind of stuff, why would she just wait till now to bring it out? There's a lot of stuff I didn't know about. all of the other sisters, some of the additional evidence from throughout the years, sisters who have been solicited in one way or another, um, like the sister in Philly. That evidence was also provided. Things like that I didn't know about. I didn't find out about those things until you guys found out about those things. So, um, in 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 hindsight, now when I think about the timeline, from my understanding, I believe that um, him sleeping with um, Naya's sister is what he was talking about. But I could be wrong. Anyway, so um, that happens. And of course, I'm gutted by that, by losing my baby, not understanding why. Um, so then there was a time span where we were trying to conceive again, had tons of issues with that, obviously. Now I have one less fallopian tube. I'm older. Oh boy. I'm older. Um, oh no. Serafina. I'm screwed. She is up, up, up. Um, so have some issues with conceiving all throughout this now. There's just tons of just issues and, different things going on, and issues with his marriage with Naya, and, other things that are going on. Just the usual weird stuff that he expected me to just see and be aware of and just act like I didn't see it. Um, the things he wanted me to just sweep under the rug and like not act like they were sin, not act like certain things didn't walk with the Bible. Like, that's what made me disrespectful. That's what made me disagreeable. That's the truth of the matter. Of course, he'll deny that, but um, at this point, I'm his only wife that's actually in the truth. Where are you going? No, 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 no,
Okay,
no, no.
my question would
Oh,
be,
God. Ariella, can you blur her out?
hey,
Let's put you under
don't
this.
put the baby in.
Um,
Okay, so my question would be number one, um, peace, Dr. Linda, peace. Good to see you. I saw you over there on uh, uh, Brother Yara's channel earlier. I was listening in to Brother Yara M as I could. They had a good discussion going on too today, so I tried to listen into that. But this is my question where she just said that she's the only wife that she know of that's in the truth. My question would be, did they fall out of it, or were these other wives, did he marry them or so-called marry them knowing they weren't in the truth in the first place? Because if that's the fact, they're not equally yoked. And the Bible talks about being equally yoked. And you got to understand, people, when we talk about relationships, like I said, this is not a badging match on Gorilla Hebrew or his wife. This is about relationships. This is about, let's be real about these relationships we get ourselves into. We get caught up in the fluff and all they're cute, or all she's pretty, or all they can do the daggone thing, and we don't really look at the relationship, what the meat of it, what is going to hold this together, what is it going to take to sustain us. See, it's one thing for your desires. I desire a man to be 6'1", 6'2", nice sized man, uh great job with some pretty hair. Okay, that's my desire. But is that going to sustain me as a woman? Which I'm saying is that going to hold me up? Is that going to carry me through the years? Is that going to carry me through the hard times that we will have? As long as you're living here on earth, there will be hard times. Is that going to hold me the same as a guy? A lot of times I've seen it so many times in counseling where you have these guys that have money and they marry all these pretty girls and they beautiful long hair and they got these sexy bodies and all this. But as time go on, does she have what it takes to hold him up when things are going bad, when the money is getting low, when the press is beating them down, when their health is failing? Does she have what it takes to sustain? Right. So we have to figure out what it takes to sustain us, to hold us up throughout the years of our lives, not just because they look good. Now, so my thing is when he married these other women, were they already in the truth? As a leader, he automatically knew that the first thing is you need to have women who are of your faith, because it is very hard on a relationship to be in a relationship with someone who don't believe what you believe. They don't know why you are going uh, um, uh, um, you know um, to all of the services. They don't know why you with your brethren on certain days. They don't understand all that. And they start to feel like, well, you're neglecting the family, you're neglecting the house, you're this, you're that, because they don't understand it. Okay. Not only that, that also plays in how you raise your family. Okay, your family structure. So if you're with a mate who don't believe what you believe in, it's already kind of going off course, because it's going to be some things. It's going to be some chaos. It's going to be some I don't understand. Same in the church. A lot of times, men that don't go to church but their wives do don't understand why they tithing all the time. Well, why you got to give this? Why you got to do that? Well, why you got to do the fish fry? Well, why you got? Because they're not in the same faith. They're not on one accord, so they don't have that understanding. Okay. And if you're going to make a relationship successful, and if you want that relationship to continue to grow, you have to be walking the same path. Okay. You have to be walking the same path. Okay. Because if not, as soon as something happens, we're off. Oh, going that way. Okay. So that's my question. So let's continue to listen and see what else she says. I'm glad they blurred out the baby's face.
Can you blur her out? I don't even know if you can blur her out. You gonna lay right here?
Okay. Shout out to
Um.
Shar. And like I said,
So
this is his
yeah.
channel.
So
Please
I
go
went
and
through a
listen
lot,
to
and
the
actually
whole
one of the
interview
sisters
on
who,
this brother's channel.
House of Carnivore, the sister Mayum, she walked with me through a lot of this stuff, man. Some stuff I'm not even gonna bring up. But she knows the hell I went through. She knows the ways that I was tormented. Um, Simply for not wanting to go along with a lot of stuff, calling out things that were weird because they.
Okay, so here we go again. She said the way she was tormented. And like I said, this is a teaching moment for us, guys. It's a teaching moment. Why would you stay in a relationship? Because a relationship that you felt you were tormented. Okay. Now, a lot of times we women stay in relationships, we who are of a religious faith. We stay in it because we believe in that vow we took. We believe in being that woman that the Bible talks about that supports your man, that's the pillow for your man. We believe in that. But the reality is, we don't really look deep enough. And this is why you need to know your word. You need to study and know your word. Not don't just let somebody keep telling you what the word says, or let them translate what God is saying. God will talk to you and reveal things to you so you will have a clear understanding of his word. Okay, ladies, we have to grow as well in that knowledge. We have to grow. But I'm gonna break it down real simple. I'm not gonna go into a whole lot of religious stuff because people who are not religious don't understand it when we start quoting a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna break it down this simple to you. One, if we call God our Father, just like your father, your earthly father, would he want to see you being tortured or abused? Just ask yourself that. Just put that question in your mind. Two, the Bible tells us don't we shouldn't be in the sit in the seat of scornful, or we shouldn't be in the midst of unrighteousness. Let me put it that way, or bad people. Let me put it that way for people who don't have the big understanding or don't read a lot. So that also goes for these so-called mates that we choose. Okay, God didn't tell me to stay where hell is. He didn't tell me to stay beside Satan. Okay. He told me to get away from it. So even if you have picked a mate that have strayed and you can't bring that mate back on the straight path, you don't have to stay there. You can depart and say, hey, you got to get it together. Okay. You got to get together. I love you and I love those good parts, but that hell in you, that devil you got in you, I don't have to deal with that. Because the word said I don't have to. The word told me to get away. So women, when you see that happening and you're a woman of God or righteousness or trying to live right, it's not telling you to stay there and be abused. That's not what the word is saying at all. Okay? It's not saying that. And we need to get away from it. Abuse is abuse. Okay? And I don't care how you try to dress it up. I don't care how you shape it up. I don't care how you try to clean it up. Abuse is abuse. Now, also, she talks about trying to please her man in the bedroom. Okay? I understand that and I get it. Like I said, I've been married for 25 years. I wasn't always married. Okay? Um, but there are some things that me being brought up, there are morals that have been put in me that I am just not going to break. See what doctor said. I have noticed that many who chose to remain with an abuser spouse usually do not have the proper love for oneself. You are absolutely correct, doctor, period. And that's what I'm just about to get to. Um, I was brought up with certain morals. There are some lines I'm just not going to cross for you. I don't care how much I love you. I'm just not crossing those lines. Okay. There are some things, if it don't sit right with my spirit, I'm not doing them. If I feel like it is going to hit, excuse me, my self-esteem in any kind of way, I'm out. You can forget it. And I think that where we have failed, a lot of our young women, and I'm talking to us that are older, is that we have not built up that queen. And then we on YouTube everywhere. You a queen, you blessed, you a queen, you a queen, you a queen, you a queen. But in reality, we have not taught the attributes of what a queen is and what really walking in righteousness is and how proud you should be. The Bible says the woman is the gift. It says the woman is the gift. Okay. It says that the man gets favor because of the woman. It doesn't say the woman gets favor because of the man. Okay. We need to teach that more, and our young women need to understand you are the prize. You're the prize. You're the diamond. And we need to build up their self-esteem so they don't keep falling in these traps with all these abusive relationships. They don't keep falling in this trap believing that I have to do any and everything to keep my man. No, that's not the way it works. You are the gift. And we have to build our women up to be independent, self-sufficient, so they don't feel like they have to stay with a man because that's all they got. We got to do better. We have to do better in teaching our young women. So, she, one, felt like the things that he wanted to do in the bedroom, she had to do to keep him, to please him. Two, she felt like the things that was going on, she had to stay because a righteous woman, a woman of God, has to stay with her man. So let's continue and see what else she says.
They were weird, calling out things that didn't make sense considering who he was and what he taught. That's what made me disrespectful. That's what made me disagreeable, according to him. That does not, and I'm not saying that I'm the easiest. I'm not saying I was just this perfect wife who was just, like, no, I have my moments. I can be, aggressive. I can be, assertive. I can, but he knew that. And like y'all heard him say out of his own mouth, he liked that. So, him now using that as the excuse for why he allegedly put me out, which quite frankly, I'd love to see biblically where he can just put me out. I want to see in the law where he can just put his wife and his children out because the wife is disrespectful and disagreeable. You had a wife who
Okay. She hit a point there. She hit a point. Now, I watched Gorilla Hebrews live as well. And he did say he put her out because she was just disrespectful and disagreeable. I don't know what all went in their relationships, but that biblically speaking, that don't fly. Okay. Um, the only way you could put your wife away is for adultery that I can remember. Now I may be wrong. I'm not a super scholar, but that I can remember. Now nowadays I get it. If you and her are not walking on the same path, you're not agreeing, and both of you come to terms with, hey, this is not working, there is a proper way of separating nowadays. Okay. Um, but because she's disagreeable with you, that's not biblically. And even if that, and here we go again. Let me come back to when you decide to get in one of these polygamous relationships. Okay, here we go again. Now that they've so-called separated, by law, the only thing that she can get from him is child support. That's it. She has no recourse as far as anything else. She can't get no alimony. She can't get a house paid for, a car note, half the car. She can't get the flower pot outside if she wanted it. She has no rights because she's not a legal wife. And that's important, guys, because as women, you got to look at it like this. She's a young woman, and she talked about having a baby by Gorilla Hebrew, and she went through difficulties, and now one of her fallopian tubes are gone. Okay, she's a beautiful young woman. Okay, so these years and these trials that she's put in with him, they're gone. Okay, and so she now may really want to get married for real and have children by this man who is willing to fully support her, buy her a home, put her in a house, build a 401k plan with her, life insurance, stocks, bonds, put a playground in the backyard for the kids, the whole works. But now she has to come with him and say, hey, I love you. I know you love me, but this is my situation. I may not be able to have kids. Okay, because of this situation. And so when we make decisions, what I'm saying, when we make decisions early in our lives, they can really affect us later. And they're not really all positive. Because I remember um when I before I got married, I didn't want a man with a lot of children. That was my preference. I didn't care what he had, and I met men with money. I dated a guy who was pro ball. I dated a singer. I didn't want a man with a lot of children. He could have one, But my thought was I didn't want to deal with a lot of baby mama drama. I didn't care how great the guy was. I did not want a man with a lot of children. That's the first thing I asked him. How many children do you have? Okay. That was my preference. And sometimes because of decisions that we've made younger, it can affect who we are with later on in life, is what I'm saying. So let's finish listening to her as she continues to talk about her relationship with GRLA
You
Hebrew.
committed adultery. Like, did you put her and your children out in the streets? No. The time that there was whatever that domestic violence thing was or whatever, and Naya left, you ended up paying the rent at the place that she moved to. So, you know, whatever. It was just stuff like that, weird stuff like that he would expect me to act like wasn't weird, and didn't make me feel some sort of way, and didn't make me.
Okay, let me say something. Naya is talking about the first wife. I don't know if Naya is a legal wife or if Naya was just another one he called his wives. But I will point out this. As you get in a relationship, and this is whether you call yourself a wife or just the guy who has baby mamas down the line. As you get in a relationship with these men, you have to ask yourself, can they afford another relationship? Let me say it again. As you get in a relationship with these men who have past wives or girlfriends or whatever in their past, and they have children, can they afford another relationship? Okay. Right. I get you. I can't do the baby mama drama. But can they afford another relationship? Okay, here you go. You got a guy. You meet a guy. He seems great. Got a cute little apartment. Got a cute little car. Okay, great. You start dating him. You find out he's got 4 or 5 babies by 2, 3 different women. You have to consider. Okay, well, this guy, he's a plumber by trade, or he's a cable man by trade. Okay, so he's probably making, I don't know, maybe 65, 80 tops. Okay, so you can't trying to calculate here. So now you got to calculate child support. How much child support is he paying out? And if he's married before, is he paying alimony too? Because so now he got to pay child support, alimony, rent, car payment. Where you going to fit in? Ain't much left. Not to say that you only with him for money, but money can be affected because, say, for instance, you get with him and have a baby. So now you're number 5 or 6, right? Next. So now you number your baby 5 or 6. So he paying 300 here, 200 here, what you got left for your baby to help sustain your baby down the line? It's just a question, ladies. You got to be real. You got to be real.
Question his leadership, and didn't make me question him, and didn't make me trust him less. Um, Again, like I'm telling y'all, there's a whole lot of other things that I'm just not bringing up because we don't have that kind of time. Um, so fast forward, um, I get pregnant with Serafina, our baby girl, our youngest out of the 2 that we have. And those times were a little bit better. Things were a little bit better in the family. Me and Naya were kind of on better terms. At one point, I was, trying to teach her and do Bible studies with her and try to establish, monthly meetings to kind of, you know, figure out his schedule, see where she needed help, where I needed help. Um, uh, match our schedules up together, know when he's going to be out of town, things like that. Just trying to make things better as a unit. Of course, all those things fell through because as our husband, he didn't make it his priority to structure things, He was more of a leader to y'all than he was to us.
That's
To all
deep.
my brothers in Sakari who are hurt, I love you niggas. I wouldn't trade none of you niggas for the world. If y'all got to bag up, I understand. Unlike other situations, I'm not going to have the harsh judgment that I would because I understand the gravity of this situation. I understand, how negative of a look this is.
Mm.
And, it was an honor serving you niggas, honor teaching you niggas. Man, this shit is my life, man. And I put you niggas before my kids, nigga. I put you niggas before everything, man. I put you niggas before everything, man.
He was more of a leader to y'all than he was to us. Um, so I'm pregnant. Come to find out, Naya's also pregnant. um, well, pregnant at the time, obviously. I'm sure you guys have seen that Passover picture. I know, respect the shooter. We were both pregnant at the same time. Naya was maybe about 3 or 4 months ahead of me. And this thing is going on the whole time. In terms of, as far as I know, with he and I, in terms of just conversation and text messaging and things like that, things that continuously escalated, obviously, where, it got to the point where it was overwhelming to me at times. It's just kind of like, can we just not talk about this? Or, I'll make a comment to him just like, I wish you were here more or something like that. And, that would turn into, this is why you need a boyfriend, stuff like that. So he's right. Everything was fantasy until it wasn't. So fast forward to I believe my Serafina was about 4 months old, and I got a phone call from my sister wife Naya, which is the first wife, the one that he came into the truth with. And she is upset. Now, mind you, before this, she had just given a birth. Maybe, like I said, she was about 3 to 4 months further along than I was. She had given birth. Excuse me. And she was going through a lot of, different things, and whatever struggles they were going on or had going on with their marriage and things like that. Now, mind you, there's a lot of things I don't even know is happening. So when she's reaching out to me prior to this phone call, she seems really low in the spirit. She's she's saying things like, I can't do this anymore, like, you guys should just do, I can't do this Israelite thing anymore, just and I didn't understand it too much then. Obviously I understand it now. Thank you, Mama. So leading up to the phone call, she had just been acting really strange. And so leading up to the phone call, she was, Serafina,
I must have wait for a
come
minute, guys. Go
on.
ahead.
Can
Who's
you go
listening?
watch Megamind, please, so I can finish this? Watch Megamind. Or you have to lay still, okay? I know, Mama. Go to sleep. So one night she calls me. Serafina's about 4 months old, maybe between 3 to 4 months old. And she calls me. Naya calls me, and she's upset. She's crying on the phone. She's calling me from a number I don't even recognize. She's crying on the phone. She's upset. Yes. So Naya calls me. She's upset. She's crying on the phone. She's telling me something about her cousin and that Adonis. Obviously, by now y'all knows is Chief. That's his government name. Adonis is, he had sex with my cousin and he paid her to dominate him and all types of stuff. And I'm in shock. I'm just like, what? Because at this time, sexual activity for the most part had ceased, obviously because of the separation time, from when, I had my daughter. And just that, and then I had our son as well, and I didn't have time, nor did I want to really entertain even text conversations or anything like that, so I wasn't entertaining it at all at this time. So she says all this, she's talking about
Okay, so let's go back and kind of look at what she was talking about. Peace to everybody that's coming in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Feel free to make comments in the chat. Also, thank you for sharing. And if you are on Facebook, I cannot see your comments because I am directly on YouTube. So come over to my YouTube channel. I don't know why I can't get my Facebook people to come over. So let me say this. Let's go back to some of what she said, right? Doctor. Let's view some of what she said, and then we're gonna go on to Nature Boy. Like I said, go over to this brother's channel. Is Shar. I cannot pronounce. I will let me see here. Shar, I cannot pronounce that. AHRAYAHLA. I don't want to mess it up. I could probably try, but I would mess it up. But go over to this brother's channel and you can see the full interview. Let me say this. Also, by her being in this polygamous relationship and not really being sure is number one. She so-called married a man who lived in a totally different state than she did. She was in a state where she had her own place and she had a job. Now, by Gorilla Hebrew's interview, he says that allegedly he says that she lived in a one bedroom and he took her from a one bedroom and put her in a house she didn't have to pay anything for. But she stated when she first came to Georgia that he put her in an Airbnb. Now, let me tell you something about Georgia. When he says he put her in a house and all of this. In Georgia, it would be very hard to have more than one lease unless you have a lot of money. In Georgia, you have to make 3 times the rent. I don't care where it's at. In some places, it's 3.5 times. So in order to just rent a place, you have to be making a heck of a lot of money if it's in your name. Two, he could buy property and could be putting his wives in properties that he's purchased, but then again, he's still gonna have to have a lot of money because properties in Georgia are not cheap at all. So we have to look at those factors as well when we're looking into, okay, what's really going on here. The first baby she said she had it in Connecticut. Most of her whole pregnancy was there and she had the baby there. She came to Atlanta for a while. She wasn't comfortable and she left. And then the second one, it apparently sounds like she was not with him as well. These are the things that can happen when you get into these relationships too fast, too quick, not knowing the person, not really doing background on that person, knowing that person's family, um, asking some questions to his family about his last relationships. They'll talk. They'll trust me. Somebody in the family will tell you what you need to know. Um, trying to figure out who this person is before you get your whole life intertwined. Now, when she talks about the sister wife not being happy, coming to her, telling her things, this is another thing. I just don't have time to teach a grown woman. Okay, so when you talk about these sister wives, you're really talking about having another kid, and most, if you are the mature one, you have other kids. This is like having another kid that you have to deal with, or you've got a, it's kind of like having a, how you have the teenager and they think they're grown, you can't tell them nothing, that kind of thing. I don't have time to try to raise somebody else and deal with their problems. And every time you get mad at him, you want to call me. I got enough dealing with me and him and my kids. Okay. I don't need to involve nobody else in that drama. Okay. I don't need the headache. And it is a headache. I have not heard of one out of all of the um polygamous relationships I've read on, I've listened to, I've seen. I haven't heard none that just didn't have total drama, because women, we hard to get along with. Okay, two women in the house, two women don't work, especially in the same household. And then so she talks about that. Then she's talking about, their sex life as far as after having children. That is going to change, men. If you do not know, once a woman has children, her body changes. Okay, um, her physical body is changing, her mental is changing. She's got babies, she's tired. There's a whole lot of things to go into it once a woman has children. It is not going to be the same as it was before. Okay, that doesn't mean it can't be pleasurable, it can be nice, but now we have to put some time on it. Now we have to put some, we have to work this thing out. How, when we can work it out, how are we going to work it out, depending on the children, if I'm still working. It's a lot. So a relationship, it takes two to tango, but both of you got to want to do the tango. One can be doing the tango and one do disco. Okay, then you're not gonna match up. It's not gonna work. Okay, that just not gonna work. My husband's laughing, y'all. He's cracking up at that. Okay, it's not gonna work. You have to be on the same accord. Hello, welcome, welcome. Come on in. So we've listened to this. Listen, guys, go back, listen to this whole presentation first. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to just put a little bit of it out there that she has spoken up. She has given her truth, as well as Gorilla Hebrew gave his. Now, I'm gonna say this about Gorilla Hebrews that I did not like. Gorilla Hebrew said that he repented, and I saw all the brothers on YouTube talking about, oh, he said he repented, he repented, he repented, he repented. Okay, repentance comes from the heart, not from the lips. Okay, and what I did not like, and this is me, okay, I didn't like the fact that after he said I repented and I went through this, then he started blaming her. Okay. He started blaming her for the whole thing. Well, she did this and she said that, and then she was disagreeable, so I had to put her out. Who puts their kids and the mother of your children out because they're disagreeable? You didn't say she was cheating, you didn't say she was stealing, you didn't say she was cursing God because she was disagreeable. That's part of life. Okay? And if you're just with a woman or a man who agrees with you, that means you don't want to grow or be challenged. Okay, that's what that means. I'm sure I'm very disagreeable at times with my husband. I'm quite sure. Okay. My husband said 25 years. Okay. So I understand. But the fact of the matter is that means you don't want to be challenged. It's okay to disagree, but we can come to terms, but it's okay to disagree. All right. And so this is why you, when it comes to finding that mate, you need to find someone who's equally yoked, someone who believes what you believe, someone who's trying to walk the same path as you, someone who wants to live where you want to live, someone who wants to grow old where you want to grow old, someone who has the morals and values that you were raised with. It's very hard to make a relationship work with two people who have two different morals and values that they were raised on. I know one thing that um I was talking to, I talking to one of the other YouTubers, and I get it. I get it about her because Dr. You funny, well, in my church voice, right? I get it. When some things that I say um may come off motherly or old fashioned. And the problem is sometimes is that I get it. Everybody's not raised the same. I told our children when they were going to college, saying, look, you're going to find out everybody ain't raised the same. Okay? Everybody don't live the same. Everybody don't have the same morals and values. And that's okay to a point. But there is structure to everything. And that's why we have structure in law. For instance, I remember growing up, and the first when we moved to almost an all-white neighborhood, and we were coming from, at that time, we were coming from a predominantly black neighborhood. And was I playing basketball track? I can't remember if I was playing basketball track at the time. But one of the girls I was on the team with, I went over to her house. And when I went into her house, number one, the house was tore up. It was so junky. I was like, oh my God. It was a big, beautiful home on the outside. Yard was immaculate, gorgeous. So I thought, oh wow, these folks got some money. Went inside, tore up, kicking clothes just to get down the hall. So that shocked me because you know, in my house, you wasn't going to bed and the house tore up. Okay, you did this wasn't gonna happen. And then her dad was walking around in his underwear. The mom had an underwear and a t-shirt on, and she was like, "Oh, don't pay them no attention. They walk around naked most of the time." That was a shock to my system. Okay, because in my house, you don't know. You don't walk around half naked in front of your family like that. That was just a no-no. Okay. But in her world, it was okay. So when you talk about nudity in her world, to her, it meant something different than it meant to me. So when we're talking about morals and values, a lot of times they don't measure up with other people because their world was different, the way they were raised. But that does not mean there shouldn't be any structure in laws. For instance, some people are raised with cussing. The whole family cuss, and I see too many religious people online cussing. Okay. Let's just be real. What is profanity? Okay. What is profanity used for? Profanity is slang. Profanity are words to belittle people, um, or to what's a good word for profanity? It's to belittle, it's to shame, it is to, like I said, it is slang, it degrade other people. It's not profanity is not a good thing, people. I don't care if you raised with it or not. It's just not a good thing. Let's just be real. Right. My husband said most time you use profanity, you can't think of nothing educated to say. But some people were raised just profanity was normal language for them. Okay, that may be true. But the reality is, if you go for a job interview, can you use that same language at that job interview? No, not if you want the job. If you were meeting the president of the United States, could you use that same profanity when you're meeting the president? No, that would be improper and they would escort you off. See, so there has to be some structure and law to everything, no matter how you may have been raised. We need structure and law to keep things straight and in order. And that's just the way the world is, because if there wasn't, everybody would just be a free fall, do what you want, say whatever you want, and there would be total chaos. We already got chaos with the structure and law that we do have. Can you imagine if it was none? Can you just imagine? Right. You won't go in no bed with no dirty dishes. You better not. If you did go to bed with dirty dishes, doctor, they would wake you up 2, 3 in the morning. You getting up. But everybody's not raised that way. And I'm actually going to do a show on how we have fallen from that grace. There was a time where you could say black folks didn't keep a dirty house. It was always maybe one in the neighborhood or so that kept a dirty house, but the majority, everybody's house was clean. But nowadays, it's totally flopped. Nowadays, people are so nasty. I'm gonna do a whole show on that soon. But so you know, when we're talking about mates, how were you raised? Let me meet your family. Let me see how you were raised in comparison to how I was raised. So we can see if this thing worked. Because if y'all wasn't raised the same with the same morals and values, there are going to be some issues. Just know that. There are going to be issues, okay, that you may not be able to get over. For instance, I was not raised with domestic violence in my house. I wasn't raised with my mom and dad cussing and fussing each other. I wasn't raised that way. My mom was very strong minded, and my dad was very strong minded. But uh, I didn't see no fighting, so that wasn't normal to me. Okay, so I could not. There's no way I could live with a man hitting me. I couldn't fathom that throughout all of my years of dating, before I got married and all of that. I just couldn't that I couldn't get that. A man don't supposed to put his hands on a woman. That's just the bottom line. My dad always taught that. A man's not supposed to put his hands on a woman. And so that's just how we were raised. Right. I can't stand here a lady cuss like a sailor need a doctor. I think it takes something away from her, um, for me. And I really can't stand somebody of righteousness just cussing like a sailor. That takes something away from what he's saying to me, because it seems like it's dirtying up your righteousness. Okay, if I could say that. Yeah, my husband said it's dirtying up the communication, and I agree with that. It's unwarranted and it is not needed. It's kind of like, to me, have you ever watched a really good show and you're watching a really good show and you're loving the show, and then all of a sudden a real sex scene just pops up in there and you thinking yourself, it didn't need that. That just took away from the whole show because it didn't need it. You know, that's the way it is to me when I hear someone who is talking religious but cussing at the same time. It's dirtying it up. It didn't need it. Okay, you're not getting nowhere, and it's not making people from the hood want religion, because you might think, well, I'm talking the way they talking so they can hear me. It's not. It don't work that way. You're supposed to let your light shine. Okay, light. Okay, you ain't supposed to mix it with darkness. Light. Okay, and who shall hear it will hear it, and who's going to believe is going to believe. So that's where I am with that. So as we look at this whole situation with Gorilla Hebrew and everything, my whole take on it is this: I appreciate the brother stepping down. He was found at fault. And for whatever reason he decided to step down. I believe that any leader that is found in a situation close to his or anything like that should step back. The reason being is because if you don't, you're going to hurt a lot of people, while you're trying to heal or while you're trying to fix whatever that situation is. So I respect him for that. What I do not agree with is the fact that um he said he repented, but then went on a couple of platforms and blamed her and said that he was over all of this happened years ago and he was over that addiction. First of all, you're never over addiction. You're always just managing it. Okay. An addiction is that just that. It's an addiction. It's something that is with you, that is in you, that you have to fight every day. That's why in Anonymous, they always say, they tell you, say, I'm an alcoholic, because you never get over being an alcoholic. You're just managing one day at a time. So I disagree with him on that. If he has this fetish that he's dealing with, then that is something in him. But deeper than that, I'm questioning what happened to him to cause this fetish, because the excuse he gave don't fly. And you have to go back and look at his interview. And I'm not going to get into all that to listen to the excuse he gave. But the excuse he gave don't fly, especially if you have any um um if you have any training in the psychology, that excuse way don't fly. Doctor, you might know what I'm talking about. I don't know if you saw his interview, but the excuse he gave to why he fell into the whole wanting her to get a white man situation just did not fly. The deal is, what is the root problem? What caused that fetish to happen where he could not control it? Where it slowly and slowly got out of control and grew and grew and grew to the point where he's asking her to get a white man and to order kits and stuff. So when we have issues, guys, we can mask them, but they will come out. So if you have an issue, just know you're going to take that into your relationship, whatever it is. Yeah, you need to look at his interview. You really do, to understand it all before you look at hers. Look at his, because hers is actually a rebuttal to his, and she has some fault. We all have fault now. Don't get me wrong. In every relationship that you break up with, you got fault in it too. She got fault in it too. One, she should have really thought about that relationship when you're talking about getting in a relationship with a man who's already in a relationship. What is he not getting from that relationship that he need me? That would have been my first question. Okay. Because now you got me and her. Who else you gonna need? Well, as we look, he had 2 or 3, 4 more. So there was something as a man he's not getting, and it's not the woman. It's something missing in him. Because I promise you, my husband will tell you, one is enough. Kind of like Muhammad said, one is good if only you knew. Okay. Can't handle the one that you got. Okay. It's rough in a relationship being with just one person, let alone 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would have been my first question. Two, when she lived in another state and he lived in another state, if he couldn't financially move her down there in a home and do those things that he need to do, uh was it feasible for him to be in another relationship? And three, when she saw stuff going awry, even in her right trying to be righteous, was this the man for her? Should have been a question. So there's a few things that she had to factors she has to play in, and there's some responsibility that she has to take. Yeah. It's when I look at stuff like that, I don't look at it for the gossip. I look at it for the research. I look into what they're saying and why they're saying it, and then I watch the reaction of the people. Okay, and it to me, the reaction from the men, because you hardly ever hear from the Hebrew Israelite women. It was I won't say shocking, but I was kind of set back by so many men saying, well, he repented, so it's okay. He repented. No, he repented with his mouth, but did he repent with his heart? Because a person repent with their heart, you ain't gonna blame nobody else. You're gonna say, look, I messed up. I had a problem. I'm dealing with. You're not gonna go along with she's disagreeable and she got a mouth and she did this and she ain't tell y'all about this and she ain't tell y'all about that. You're not gonna do that. You're not gonna do that because you're gonna accept full responsibility. That's the only way repentance work. It gotta be from your heart. Okay, you can talk all day long. As my husband say all the time, mouth can say anything. And so I can tell y'all, I'm the archangel. That don't make it so, right? So go back and look at that. So now we're gonna go on, and this one is something I've really been wanting to touch on for a while, and that is the Nature Boy and the Nature Boy whole saga. This is why I say we as older women, we have just failed our young women in building them up and making them have strong self-esteem. One thing that with our daughters, I tried my best is to build up their self-esteem. I used to tell them all the time, I don't care if you marry the richest man in the world, you need to be able to hold your own. You need to be able to Sustain yourself. And one thing I've learned about men, this is a hint for any woman out here who's listening to me. Men treat you differently when they know you can afford to take care of yourself. I'm just going to say that again. Men treat you differently when they know you can afford to take care of yourself. If you don't believe me, have a job, buy your own car, paying your way, and see how he treats you. Then quit your job. All right, quit your job and be sitting at home and see how he treats you. It's different. It's going it's going to be different, okay? It's going to be different. Always be able to to take care of yourself. Always women be able to, even if you decide to you want to be a homemaker, that is fine. Find something that you can do at home to bring in an income. You will see the difference and you will feel so much better about yourself when you can take care of it. I know that one lady here in Atlanta, we I was doing some life coaching with, and we were talking about the reality TV curse, where a lot of the women on reality TV, once they start, they divorce their husbands. And I said, it ain't no curse. That's simple. I can explain that to you. They could finally afford to leave. That's just, that was the reality. Most of them who were married before they came into reality TV, they couldn't afford to leave. That's why they didn't. They couldn't afford, because when you talk about leaving a man who has money, if there's not an agreement before you leave and you just try to leave them, a lot of times you can afford an attorney to help fight for everything that you deserve out of that relationship. So a lot of them, a lot of times say, hey, I don't want to give up everything. Um, I'm not ready to give up everything. So they stay, which to me, I give it all up because I'm not going to be mistreated and unhappy just for material things. That's just me. But so when they get that money from reality TV, they can finally say, you know what? I can leave. If you remember how Portia's husband, first husband, treated her, Portia said she used to have to go to her mother and get $500 just to have some money in her pocket because he wouldn't even give her pocket money. Y'all remember that? If not, go back to that first season, first and second season of Atlanta Housewives. But most of them you will see in the pattern, they couldn't afford to leave. Okay. And then when they became Atlanta Housewives or Housewives on reality TV, they started making money. So then they could stand up and say, okay, you know what? I can go. I can go. Some of them husbands treated them dirty, but that's a whole nother thing. We might get into some reality updates. So yeah, you need to be able to stand up on your own, and we need to teach our young girls that their beauty ain't everything. Okay, you need to have a brain, and you need to be able to function. It's kind of like Shaquille O'Neal's wife when he left and wanted to leave her. She had properties everywhere he didn't even know about. Okay, you better have something up here, okay, to take care of yourself. And you better know you worth more than that. I'm worth more than a car. I'm worth more than a house, baby. I'm sure worth more than a Birkin bag. Okay, I just want you to know it. The Lord said, I'm the gift. Best believe. That's the way I act. That's the way I treat myself. And that's the way my husband treat me, because I don't accept anything else. Okay. I just don't accept anything else. Okay. So let's go on. I'm about to rattle. So we're going to go on to Nature Boy. Let me get out of here. But like I said, go to Brother Shar's channel um, and finish watching hers. But if I advise to go to GRLA Hebrew and look at his interview first, and then go to and watch her full. So now we're going to talk about Nature Boy. Okay, for those of you who don't know Nature Boy is a cult leader who have now serving life plus 10 years in prison for um, grape, false imprisonment, and sexual transmission, yada yada. Okay. So we're going to talk about the so-called women that call themselves his wives. Let me just say, for years I tapped in and out of Nature Boy. I just never could sit and listen to. I've never listened to a whole teaching or speech of Nature Boy because it was just so much foolishness and buffoonery. That I couldn't catch it. But what I gathered was here we have a lot of young people that were lost because of maybe the way they were raised or whatever happened in their lives. And I have to go back to the fact that a lot of these young women had mothers in their lives. And I'm like, what happened with the relationship with the mothers where they got so drawn in to follow this man out in the wilderness who had nothing, wasn't talking about nothing, wasn't teaching nothing new. He wasn't saying nothing that you couldn't read in a book or even Google online. Shoot, to me, young Pharaoh was talking better than Nature Boy. So but Nature Boy had something that young Pharaoh didn't, and we'll get into that later. The guy I think believe got these young women. So what we're going to listen to first is because Sinetta actually interviewed these young women on his channel, and their stance has not changed. But Nepal also interviewed the young lady who accused him of rape on her channel, and I thought she did a great interview. So let's this is when let me share. This is when he got stabbed in prison and their response afterwards. And this is after he has been sentenced to a year, 10 months in prison. I mean, life and 10 months in prison for rape and all of the other stuff. And if you ever go back and watch all the stuff with Nature Boy, it's horrible the way he treated these young women. So let's play a piece of it. This is from Bigo Clip. And we're just gonna play a little bit of it. And my fair
teach them and not giving them further knowledge and education and stuff outside of the fucking school system. That's what Chief was teaching us. Yeah. So when you see these charges on him, but they put him as a cult leader. Who is a fucking cult leader? What nigga is a cult leader? But Europeans do shit like that to become cult. We ain't no damn cult leader. We here to heal y'all. Nigga, we here to rise this shit up and waking your genetics and waking your mind back up to truth. Yeah. So that's what we remember who you are. Black people, melanated people. Get them. Yes. Yeah. We are from the roots of this earth. We ain't no bad people. We ain't no bad people. We are the sweetest, nicest, loving people you could ever meet in your life. But once you cross us, nigga, we will lay the law down and we'll let you know how it is. But we ain't
this one talk right now is his so-called main wife now. Now the only legal wife that he had out of the group was Velvet, and she left him and finally divorced him. She just couldn't take the abuse anymore. Now, if you look at past videos, Malia, this one speaking, is the one he abused. The ones you see here are the ones he either neglected or abused the most in the whole cult. But Malia, he really abused Malia from allegedly from what I saw from the videos. Whether they say it was fake or not, it did not look fake to me when he had his foot on her face, pushing it into the ground. You couldn't even act that way with me unless you paying me mega bucks. You couldn't do that. Put your dirty foot on my face and put it into the ground. He also had Malia and Velvet fighting, and those licks and those swollen lips and things were not fake. Okay, so this is who this is. Malia's that main wife that, like I said, to get most of the abuse after Velvet left.
No bad people. We ain't no bad people. And Eligio is good to y'all. He's been good to y'all this whole fucking time. Yeah, nigga. Man. So it's time to wake it up now. It's time to shake this damn internet up.
He always truthful about everything, bro. Everything. It wasn't nothing that he wasn't honest
all these
about.
supposed to be his
And
lies.
I ain't gonna lie. It hurts to see that.
Hurt.
It hurts to be
this anger. It hurts. This is hurt.
Now, this is after you've been stabbed in prison.
When you start tapping into the truth, watch how this reality start to respond to you. Us just sitting in a waiting room so we can let our husband know whenever we talk to him that we was in that fucking room in that hospital with him. Going through that, so he don't think he was going through that by himself. These motherfuckers line up in front of us like they trying to do something. 12 deep, talking about you gonna go to jail. If you don't go, you gotta go to jail. About our husband, how he doing? You gonna come lock us up? Watch how this world start responding to you, because it's the spirit.
Okay, now this is what I'm gonna say again. Back to this polygamy thing. Back to the polygamy thing. When Nature Boy was stabbed, they were not notified. Okay. There's a couple of reasons probably why they were not notified. Number one, they're not family legally. They're not his legal wife. Not now. One of them is a legal wife. They're not his sisters. They're not his cousins. They have no per se legal ties to him as far as family is concerned. Two of them when he was in jail, tried to sneak drugs. 1, 2, or 3. It was 3 of them. 3 of them tried to sneak drugs into jail for him while he was in jail and got caught. Okay. And one of them have a warrant out. The one in the back, that's the brighter skin one, her mother bailed her out out of jail, or she wouldn't be there. And then the one way in the back, she's got a warrant out for her. So they're not going to if you are even put on the list as contacts, they're not going to contact you because y'all want it yourselves. At least one of you most definitely is wanted, and then the other one, I don't know what if they're still facing those charges for trying to sneak drugs and stuff into the jail when he was just in jail in DeKalb County. But like I said again, when you're not a legal wife, you have no legal recourse when it comes to matters that will deal with that person you're calling a husband.
And when you start tapping into truth, slavery, the spirit, start moving, try to distract you, threaten anything.
So that's what we wanted to share with y'all. We just wanted to share our anger, our tears, our frustration behind it, everything, the story that we went through, the things that we are going through. We want to share that with you. We want to make sure that everybody knows, bro, because we already done proved everything.
Right.
Thanks. But you know what? That part, it's over with. Yeah. It's over with.
Yep.
We know why this is happening. We know why this is happening.
Close my door, baby.
They know, and even the white supremacy, even the system knows it's over. They trying to hide it. They trying to cover it up. They trying to prepare beforehand so that way when the system fall, they can have them a safe space, a safe haven to go to. But no, it's not. You're not going to know about it. It's going to be very subtle. Very subtle. Nature is very subtle, and she's gonna come back with a bang, and she's gonna come back with hurricanes and droughts and global warming. It's to heal your mind. Yeah. It's a get out of hell.
Exactly.
But when he proclaimed the kingdom of God, he already proclaimed.
Right now,
it just had a hurricane and what was it?
It was Japan had
a 7.1 earthquake. It's
California is on fire.
He already proclaimed 2025.
Oh,
we're gonna see Chief again. Oh yeah. It's 2025. And we
Yeah,
gonna see y'all again.
See
what y'all see.
Here go Pluto coming through the door.
Yeah.
Thomas, that.
Mark
yeah.
word.
Look up the word. Look up the word atonement.
Oh yeah.
You look it
up. Look up the word atonement.
Oh yeah.
Jesus
hung on the cross.
He was not hung on the cross.
Nah. He went back to hell to help his people get out of hell.
Exactly.
But when he went amongst his people and his people knew him not. His people persecuted him. His people throw stones at him. It says if he was not loved. It says if they hated me, keep in mind they're gonna hate you also. And it's not to be liked. He said he come back with a sword. Yeah. He come back with a word. He come back to heal your mind and to change your whole belief system and what you believe and what you knew and what this system told you. You don't have a last name. You don't have no birth certificate. You don't have nothing because all this is from a system. This is your strong man. Your strong man. So they send you to school and read and do what? Educate up under their curriculum.
Yeah.
You go to church to be educated about the white man, not that Christ is a black man. You've been told that Christ is a white man and a white Jesus, all in your damn subconscious. Everywhere you go,
in the hood, nigga,
in the hood, and your grand. Now y'all know everybody grandma got a white Jesus up in their house.
They go the hardest.
They go the hardest for the white Jesus.
We be trying to talk to people,
but once we come back to tell you the Christ has returned and that the Christ is black and that he is literally put the five sciences. He took the Bible and put the Bible in the five sciences form. And when he come back, the clear is.
Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. All right. So here we are. We've got Nature Boy's wives, and they're upset because Nature Boy, has been stabbed in prison. So they're trying to convince the world that Nature Boy is Christ. He is the return of the Christ. So that's why they're going hard in the paint, trying to convince them or convince us. I guess they're already convinced. We're not gonna get into all that buffoonery, because that's what that is. Nature Boy is a man, and it's proven that he bleeds. It's like everybody else. But I'm not getting into all that. What I really want to talk about is these young women that he has abused, he has neglected, and they are going hard in the paint for Nature Boy. We have to ask ourselves as women, what is it about us that allows so many of us to get caught up in these type of relationships that we will defend to the hilt, knowing within ourselves that it is not good. It is not a good situation. We will try to convince ourselves. Okay. A lot of it has to do with low self-esteem. That's the start of it. Some of it has to do with the way we've watched our mothers deal with relationships, our aunties deal with relationships. It has become a norm. Abuse, and abuse can be verbal. Abuse don't have to be physical. Abuse can be verbal. Abuse can be subjected. Um, Abuse can be anything that is negative towards you, that is degraded towards you, that is trying to think of another word. It can be settled. For instance, I remember I had a boyfriend one time. He was good to me. I mean, as far as financially, it wasn't nothing I couldn't want for. He brought me a car. He kept money in my account. I never had to ask for it. He would just out of the blue buy me clothes, stuff, all kind of stuff. But here how it happened. So he would buy me, he come up with an outfit. And I'd say, this outfit is too big. And he was like, it ain't too big. I'm like, I'm a size 9. This is a 14. Your big A ain't no size 9. You a 14. You're a 14. No, I'm a size 9. No, you're a 14. And he's going to make me a 14. I'm like, it's too big. It doesn't fit. So that kind of thing. Or he might come over and say, you been out in the sun today? I'd be like, no. Well, you sure is black today. So we're starting subtle little things to break down my self-esteem. Or he'd say, we need to get your hair fixed. What's wrong with my hair? I don't like it. It looks funny. Is it falling out? Well, we need to go get your hair fixed. So it was always little things like that. Or I might be walking out of nowhere and he'd be like, what size shoe you wear again? And I'd be like, at that time I was 8. I was like, it's a size 8. that Bigfoot ain't no 8. That got to be a 10. Or it could be I pronounced the word wrong. You pronounce the word wrong again. What kind of schooling did you have? Well, I'm from the South. I pronounce a whole lot of words wrong. But it was little subtle things like that he did, nitpicking. But everything was always something that downed me, something that talked about me, something that chopped at my self-esteem. And so I started looking in the mirror and started questioning myself. And luckily I was raised, with a mother who had, my mom had some serious high self-esteem, honey. That I it just what it wasn't acceptable for me. It didn't sit. So I was like, wait a minute, man, wait a minute, you chopping in my self-esteem. No, I'm about to get rid of you. And I told him, I said, look, this is not gonna work. Because obviously you have a problem with me because you always got something to say. First thing he said, ladies, don't I take care of you? Don't I do this thing? You may do all of that. But the way you chop it in my self-esteem, it ain't worth it. Okay? That means more than me. I mean something to myself. And this is something that these ladies seem to be missing. And I'm sure that the brainwashing and all of that was over our time. It was a process with Nature Boy. And even now, he's probably still from jail feeding them with his videos and his tapes and everything, to where they're going hard in the paint for him. Let's finish. And then we're going to go to what they said.
The truth is clear as day. It can't be denied. It's irrefutable. So the fact that the truth is here and that they said a Messiah will return, you can't even accept the Messiah. You can't even receive him because you're so doused and docile by this system, and you're not even in yourself, can't even fucking wake up. But when the truth comes to you, you're supposed to be like, damn, that resonated with my spirit. Exactly. That resonated with my heart. Exactly. I know what he's saying because my DNA telling me like, damn, that's true. I know what he's saying because it's
now. I want to say this with these ladies too. All of these ladies at one time had nice hair, much longer. When Nature Boy went to jail and they cut Nature's Bear hair off, just like Charles Manson's ladies did, they shaved their hair. That's why their hair is looking like this. They cut all their hair off. That's how indoctrinated these ladies are with Nature Boy. We have to start talking to our ladies. I know a lot of times I see on Facebook, a lot of times women talking about domestic violence, and trying to make awareness of domestic violence. But another thing we need to focus in on is why so many women accept or continue to stay in the domestic violence. What is it that we're doing wrong, or what is it that we're not doing enough of to make our women have better self-esteem, be stronger, where they understand that no abuse is acceptable. Rather, it's verbal or physical. Okay, it is unacceptable. And we do not have to take it. There's nowhere. Uh, uh, how can God be righteous and want me to continue to stay in an abusive relationship? How can that be? You know, um, we have to start looking at the root problem and then digging at the root of the problem and saying, okay, you're here. Now, what do you want out of this? What do you really want out of this? How can we get you to where you need to go? And when we can get them to start looking toward a future, then we can start digging in the past. So that is something that we women all have to talk about when we get on these panels and start talking about domestic violence, not just the act of what happened. Let's talk about where you want to go. Let's talk about your future, how to build you up so this won't happen again. And then once we start talking about that, we can start digging into that past and start trying to heal that past and closing that door to open up a new one. So I wanted y'all to get a background of these women.
It's bringing something up out of me, and it's hitting different. Yeah. He's saying something different. Yeah. So the truth is here, and Lehio can't be stopped. Come on now. The truth can't be stopped. Yeah. He's return of the Christ. Come on now. We gonna come on now. Come on now. When the return of the Christ come, everybody go, oh no, hate it. Persecuted.
Nobody
was playing us.
So this. Let me see something.
Okay, so we're gonna drive up there. A contact. Okay, cool. He just got there. He got to put in the information. But if he's hurt, why aren't y'all urgent on moving and getting him to see his family or get
family by law
with his family? That's how you know this shit is slavery. That's how you know this shit is built and it's about to fall. This shit is about to fall because the fact that all melanated people got access to power and control in this white man's domain, and they the black face of it, and they sitting up there with the energy of the white man, supporting the white man against his black people. How dare you? That's how you know it's gonna fall. It's time to fall.
Okay, so she's talking about when they went to prison and the actual police was stopping them from seeing him. And like I said before, I don't care what happened, you just ain't gonna come up to prison. They gonna let you through the doors because you say you somebody's wife or whatever. That ain't way it work. That ain't way the law work. But these young women, they don't know no better. Okay, and he's got them so indoctrinated they don't hear nothing else. So let's move to their interview. And it's probably going to be a 2-part because it's a lot of things to what we're talking about, a lot of different levels. Because I actually want to do a part on the healing side to some techniques and things that we women can use to help us. So we'll probably have to be a part 2 for that. But I'm not going to play it from Sinetta, I think, because Sinetta will flag you. But I'm going to play it from, I think, Max. Okay. Max Vault Max V. He's a great YouTuber. Like I said, I don't know him personally. I've listened to some of his shows and I liked some of his commentary. He talks like he has some legal background. I'm not sure if he does or not, but he does talk like he has some legal background and understand some of the legal system. Let me see here. Is this the one? Let's see. No, this is them talking about when they were on Sinetta. But we're going to list a little bit of this, and then we will do a clip from Sinetta.
And stay in a low vibrational state. You putting out that signal constantly out to the ether. And so when you get that negative message, you're going to get a negative response. Yep. So Babylon has to fall. Do you understand that? Because of universal law. Yes. Universal law, Stacey Jug Hydrick got resigned from the JQC. And that's just this not no damn coincidence that the judge that gave him life got resigned from the JQC.
Okay, let me explain something to y'all. And that's why I said these young ladies have no understanding. She did not get fired from it. She resigned. Resign mean she said goodbye, I've had enough. But you have to look at her age and her time. A lot of times when someone of her age and time resign, they're retiring or they're going for a higher office. A lot of times with judges and things, it's always political. They're going for a higher office, something else they're going to run for. So they will resign from that last post to go to another one. Or she could just be resigning because she's ready to retire, but she did not get fired. So it is not karma on her because of Nature Boy. But this is how, when you have been manipulated, how your mind can turn things uh, so it will look like it is working in the favor of your of the idea or the uh, uh, image that you want to spill out to the public. Okay.
That's not no coincidence. That shit was on the news. That was on the news. Yeah. And it's unraveling, showing I don't gotta do nothing because nature is on his side because he is the real chief. No fucking paperwork. No fucking, oh, I went to go find out my identity and I got my card. No. Genetically, cosmically aligned. He is the chief of this earth.
Okay, so
and that's what we
here they are. And this is on, like I said, Max V's channel. If you want to see the whole thing, you can go over there. But here this young ladies are now. They are rah-rah and still for him after he has been in prison almost a year. It has almost been a year now. It hasn't been a year. March? No, it's a year now. He's been in prison a year because he was convicted, I think, on March 1st. So it's been over a little over a year now. And they're still rah-rahing for him. Now, this is my thing. If he is the chief, if he is the divine of nature, why has he been on this YouTube and Vigo and Twitter and all these other platforms begging for money? The universe should just be taking care of him, but he's begging for money. Okay. I don't remember Jesus ever begging for money throughout the book. All right. Matter of fact, when it was time for Jesus to go pay taxes, he gave his disciples the money and told them to go pay taxes and said, render to Caesar what is Caesar's. But they have this whole thing where these young women are following this man that they believe is the Christ head. And they're begging for money constantly. They do not work. They don't believe in working in the system. Now, here's my whole thing. And I want to say this to women. I'm really talking to our women who are really so-called following this new wave doctrine that you don't want to believe in the Bible. You don't want to believe in the Torah. You don't want to believe in the Quran. You don't want to believe in any so-called religious book. But you want to have some form of energy doctrine that you follow, but you always relate back to the word. Okay. But anyways, let me say this. When you are on the right path and you start to require wisdom, it starts to work for you. It's not chaotic. It doesn't cause more harm than good. You will start to find yourself with you'll start to find that life becomes a little more clearer. Your path becomes a little easier. Because you start to clear out the clutter that has been in your life for so long that has caused all the chaos, the wrong people, lying, stealing, cheating. When you start to cut out all these things, adultery, fornicating, you start to cut out all of that trouble and chaos that's in your life. And when you start to cut all of that out, you start to see your path clear. So now you're starting to walk a little easier and things are becoming a little easier because you don't have to worry about the lie you told yesterday or the day before. You ain't looking over your shoulder because you ain't stole nothing from nobody. Okay. So things start to even out for you. But when you're on a path that is a chaotic path from the get-go, when you're in a something that ain't quite right, you will find yourself from one chaotic situation to another chaotic situation to another chaotic situation because you're still in the chaos. And with these type of doctrines, you're still in the chaos because they are not teaching you to become the better you. They're giving you bits and pieces of techniques to become a better you, but they're really not teaching you how to apply it, if that makes sense. So these young women have followed Nature Boy. They're listening to Nature Boy. But here they are. They're young women. The one on the left she's got a warrant for her arrest. Right now, she's got an active warrant for her arrest. The one on the right was bailed out, and I think she went to her court appearances, so she's not she doesn't have a warrant. But her mother had to bail her out. Now, this is my thing. If he has taught you not to believe in the system, if he has taught you you don't follow the system, if he's taught you that nature is the way, that living natural is the way, okay, fine. Then that's what you need to be doing. You can't be sitting in an apartment, someone else's apartment, using their electricity, someone else's apartment using their Wi-Fi, someone else's apartment eating their food that they went to the store and brought, or you yourself going to the grocery store and purchasing food. Okay, that you didn't work for and pay for. If this natural nature boy lifestyle is what he really believed in, number one, with the money that he has taken over the years from people and gathered over the years, he would have brought him a piece of land. Okay. Number two, I'm going somewhere with all this too. Number two, he would have started to farm that land and got someone to teach y'all how to farm the land so that all of the food that you're eating is natural, that you raise, that you're not eating the so-called white man's food. Number three, he would have set y'all up to be self-sustainable on that land if he truly believed the doctrine that he so-called have fed y'all for years. Okay. And number three, I mean, that's 2, 3. Okay. I done lost my count, y'all. But and then on top of all that, one of the main things, he would have taught y'all to love yourselves. And abuse is not love. Okay. When you're going through something, he's saying you got the devil in you and you need to beat it out. That is not love. Okay. When every time you're disagreeable with him, all of a sudden it's the devil in you because you're disagreeable with him. That's not truth. That is not love, ladies. That is a form of manipulation, and that is a form of brainwashing. Okay. That K Ultra thing is real. Pain, love, pain, love. Do a little pain, love. Do a little bit more pain, love. Do a lot more pain, love. That's a form of brainwashing people. So if you start to see that happening where the abuse is progressive, you need to get out before it gets to the top. Okay? You need to love yourself more than that. And so he was talking all this nature boy and go back to nature, but he never, ever really lived it. He went into nature, but y'all lived out of Airbnbs. Y'all went to grocery stores and got food. Okay. You weren't growing your food. You wasn't milking no goat for the milk. Okay. And cheese. You wasn't making your own clothes. You wasn't doing none of that. You wasn't using chopping a coconut out of the tree and washing your hair in coconut oil. You wasn't doing none of that. So the nature boy that built his whole platform on going back to nature and getting next to nature, he never lived it. And when he came to Atlanta, where he got caught in that house, he sure wasn't living. He was living the life. He was taking y'all to clubs. He was half dressing y'all like Polite did. Come on, ladies. It's not just about what people say. It is that they're living what they say. Are they showing you that what they say they believe, that's what they live? See, just don't listen to people. Mouth can say anything, and people can have great oratories. They can really speak well, speak fast, and have y'all caught up. But are they living what they believe? Can you go to their house at any given day and they're living what they believe? It's kind of like when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad started the Nation of Islam and he was teaching don't eat pork and all of that stuff. They said the Honorable Elijah Muhammad would just show up at your house and open up your refrigerator. He did that to see, are you really living what you say? Are you really trying to walk this walk as a Muslim, or are you just talking the talk? Well, most of the time, these people in these religious arenas that I've seen, and that's all the way across the board. That's churches, that's Hebrews, that's Muslims, that's people who just call themselves back into nature. Normally, most of them are not living what they believe. They talking the talk, but they not walking the walk. And Nature Boy never went back to nature and really lived that lifestyle. So when he brought y'all to Atlanta, y'all lived in a big old house with electricity. Y'all had cell phones. Y'all had computers. Y'all had apples. Y'all was going to grocery stores. Y'all were going to restaurants. Y'all were renting cars. But he's teaching y'all you can't work for the white man. But you're using all the white man's thing. You're using all the white man's electricity, using the white man's money, using the white man's food. You got on the white man's clothes, because I ain't seen none of y'all making clothes. You're using the white man's makeup. Okay. So you weren't never living what he taught. And even to this day, these women are totally brainwashed still. Now, most of the cult has broke up. I think there's 3 of them left. One of the 4 that you saw in the previous has gone, and it's just 3 left. And it's these 2. And I will say this. I most of the time do not agree with Nepal Shada at all. I'm gonna say that outright. I just don't. Um, but when it came to the interview that Sonetta did, I'm not gonna play it, but I'm gonna pull it up for y'all because Sonetta will flag you. Um, when it came to the interview that Sonetta did with Nepal Shada, I mean, with the Nature Boy, and Nepal Shada came on there and said a few things. I will say this. I most definitely agreed uh, with some of what Nepal said. Okay. Um, so, of course, on this interview, and you know how Sinetta is. So Sinetta kind of, he rides the fence, and I get that because he's interviewing. But Nepal came back and was saying, okay, y'all saying all these great things about him and how the courts didn't let the transcripts go and all of this. These 2 girls are so brainwashed. They're only going to see the truth. And that's one thing that I will agree with Sinetta on. He said they're so in love with him, but it's not that. They are brainwashed, okay? And they're so indoctrinated and so brainwashed that they're not going to hear nothing. It's going to take something drastic for them to hit a wall to realize it could be illness. It could be anything that's going to hit them for them to realize that you live in this world. Okay. Not in the world that he has created in your head. But they were talking about how great he was, how great Nature Boy is, and all the wonderful things, but they didn't talk about all of the abuse that we all have watched. They didn't even want to address it really. All of the abuse that we have watched over the years that he has inflicted on these people, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally on all the people that have been in and out of this cult. And she said, look, let's talk about some of that. And I'm going to stand up for Janae. Janae is the one who accused him, and with that accused, got him locked up for life. Let me just say this about that. When Janae gave her testimony, the testimony was weak to me. That's my opinion. But what got Nature Boys, you got to understand law. Law and your feelings are 2 different things. Law and what we think should be happen is 2 different things. You have to know law. The law states when someone says no, no means no, and anything after that is considered rape. So, say for instance, you are with someone and they are fully unclothed and you ready to go, and all of a sudden that girl says, "You know what? For whatever reason, it might be one of y'all stink. And you might decide, okay, I done had enough. I changed my mind. No. But as soon as that person says no, I don't want to, even if you keep on saying, come on, come on, come on, don't leave, come on, come on. That's called coercion. So as soon as that person says no, no means no in the law. And what got Nature Boy was on the tapes when he was interviewed by the police, he said himself, yes, she said no, but when he said that, it was over. It was over. He admitted she said no. That's all it took. By law, from that point, it was considered rape. And then he also on false imprisonment because she tried to leave. He wouldn't let her go. They blocked the door. And you got to realize that because the other people were under his influence, um, he was held responsible for what others did in that house as well. Okay, so that's part of law too, and they have their own legal words for it. And if anybody ever really want to get into that, maybe I can get my nephew, who is an attorney, to come on and talk about the legal jargon for y'all. But that's what got Nature Boy. Now, Nature Boy was offered 7 years in prison, and they were going to drop the rape charge if he took that. He was unlike Polite. Polite said, "Hey, I'll cop to whatever, and hey, I'm gonna take a lesser sentence." Nature Boy was offered that. He didn't want to take it because of his arrogance. So now he's got life in prison. Maybe he'll get appeal years down the road. But appeal some kind can take 10, 20, 30 years. And he could have been out in 5. Okay. If he had took the 7 with time served. So Napasha Doll did come and she was like, no, let's talk about some of the other things. Let me get your take on that. But they didn't want to speak on it. So shout out to Napasha Doll for that. I agree with her on that. Y'all, Sinetta still has it up. If you want to see the interview, go over there and take a look at that interview. But we have to do better with our young women, and we have to do better as a whole as people with our relationships, and we have to question ourselves to why we decide to come into these relationships. I don't know why they keep opening my door, babe. No, they keep every few minutes. Tremella open my door. Him and Pluto coming in. He ain't gonna get up. Call him. He ain't gonna go nowhere. Look at him. So, um, we have to do better with these relationships, but we have to really talk about what is a healthy relationship. Okay, what is healthy. It's okay to have some back and forth, some disagreement, but what is healthy when it becomes where you are starting to physically put hands on each other, even if it's just pushing. I have never played hitting. My mother taught me that a long time ago. She said never play hitting with anyone, because when they get mad, they're going to really hit you hard and it's going to turn into a fight. So to alleviate all that, I've never played hitting with anyone. Not hitting, not pushing, not pinching. Don't touch me. That's not what we're going to do here. Okay. So physical is never acceptable. Okay, let's talk about the mental state. If someone is always, like I told you before in one of my relationships, always got something negative to say to you, that's never healthy. If someone is emotionally damaging, and emotionally can be, they take you through a roller coaster. They love you today, they don't tomorrow. You say, "Do you love me? Huh? Do you love me? What you think?" And then maybe another day, "Do you love me?" Nope. And then one day they're like, "You're the love of my life." Then the next day you call and call and they don't pick up. See, they're putting you through an emotional roller coaster. So we need to talk about what is a healthy relationship and what that looks like and what that feels like. Okay. And that's just not the excitement. We have to understand that with Nature Boy, and I'm gonna do a part 2 because there's a lot of stuff to uncover here when we're talking about these relationships. But with Nature Boy too, Nature Boy was a lot older than these young women now. I remember as a young girl, I dated a couple of older guys that were way older than I should not have dated. And when you're young and you're a teenager, young woman, you think that you're mature enough that you can handle an older man and can't nobody tell you nothing. But the reality is that that older man has experienced some things. He's learned how to manipulate you just a little bit more than you know how to do to him. So he knows what to say and what not to say to you to get you to do some of the things he wants you to do. But not only that, Nature Boy used to be a dancer and allegedly a man of the night. So he knew some tricks that these 20, 21-year-old girls they'd never experienced before. So when he threw them tricks on them, they were blown away. Now, some of you ladies know what I'm talking about. When you get that, oh my goodness, I've never had anyone do that before and blow your mind, you just instantly in love. Okay. So that is part of the manipulation that he used to draw these girls in to believe that is love because this physical thing is this good, it's gotta be love. This got to be it because ain't nobody ever made me feel this way again before. We have to remember this young man was a lot older than these young girls too. So all of these things was mixed up in this. So on one hand, with Gorilla Hebrew's wife, you got he kind of really kept her with the religious aspect of it. You know, a good wife does this, a good woman does this, a good wife stands by her man, a good wife never leaves. Then with Nature Boy, you've got this whole thing where he put on, look, this is love. I'm giving you love like you've never felt before. I'm giving you love in a way no one ever gave it to you. I'm taking you to a higher level of consciousness. Okay. I'm downloading in you and all this crap. So our young women are being abused in so many different ways. And I'm not just saying young women, it's young men too. We've got to do better in talking about relationships. And part of those relationships is knowing yourself. I told my niece one time, and I'm about to close out, guys. I told my niece one time, I said, you learn more about yourself when you're going through a relationship downfall than you know about him, if you're really honest. When your relationship is falling or you're going through the battle, if you really want to understand what's happening, you need to first question yourself and what you have done wrong, where you could build yourself up. Okay. It's not all about blaming blame. It's all about looking at yourself, seeing who you are, seeing what you value, seeing the value in you, standing on your beliefs. And if you don't have morals and values that you were truly raised with, then find some good standards to go by that you don't bend for nobody. And then let's grow from there. Okay. I tell people all the time when it comes to my faith or my religion, I don't argue religion with nobody. Either you believe or you don't believe. That is called faith. It's just that simple, you know. Either you believe or you don't. Okay, that's what we call believers because we believe. And one thing I want to say, and then I'm gonna close this out. I know that one of the young ladies was talking about Nature Boy, and she was talking about he added the 5 signs to the Bible. There is a religion out there called Scientology. What is his name? Herbert. What is his name, baby? That runs Scientology. Herbert. Oh, what is his name? Ah, it escapes me. Anyway, I can't think of his name right now, but the gentleman that created Scientology. If you ever read his books, and I could tell Nature Boy has read his books, his teachings. He simply took the Bible and translated it into science. So people who don't want to believe would believe in the science. That's some of what Nature Boy has used. For instance, I'm just going to show you how he did it. Oh, his name almost came back to me. Herbert. What's his name, baby? Let me look it up. You want to look it up for me? Um, in church, we talk about the laying on hands, and healing. Um, and the Bible talks about miracles with the laying on of hands, right? So we believe in miracles and laying on hands and praying for one another, praying for people by the laying on of hands. We believe in when the lady prayed or wanted to be healed with issue of blood, she only touched the garment, Jesus' garment, and she was healed. So that's what we're taught in the church. In Scientology, what they teach the laying on of hands, but they don't teach it as in a miracle aspect of the faith. What they teach is the transfer of energy by the laying of hands. So they don't say that if I lay on the hands and you pray and have faith that you're going to be healed. They say if you lay it on the hands, you're transferring energy back and forth to one another that can heal. And if you do it properly, and they have techniques how to lay your hands on people and say 5 times you will be healed, or how they put it. I can't even think of. Did you see it, babe? Ronald Hubbard. That's it. I knew it was something. Ronald Hubbard. Ronald Hubbard. Lafayette Ronald Hubbard. But most of his books say Ronald Hubbard. So he usually uses the Lafayette off. It's usually Ronald Hubbard. Look up Ronald Hubbard Scientology. You will pick up all his books. But he teaches that if you touch and then you say this, okay, like say for instance, it may be you have cancer in your back, and you put the hand on your back and you say, the cancer in this back, I send my energy to the cancer in this back to heal. I send my energy to cancer. You say so many times. So it's the same thing. It's just that he so-called flipped it and made like a science versus faith. Huh? Yeah, like he discovered it. He just flipped it. And so that's some of what Nature Boy has done with some of his so-called teachings. And he's amped some of them up with different things. He's mixed things up. And that's why you need to study. Because when someone is twisting a doctrine or so-called false teaching it, you'll be able to see it ahead of time. Well, all right. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me tonight. I hope y'all got something from this. We will come part 2 because we have not really even touched the surface of these relationships and what a relationship should be. I want to bring out some techniques. We're going to bring out some definitions of what healthy relationships are. And we're going to talk about getting to the root of the problem. And when you decide to pick a mate, what are the things that you should look for in that mate according to you? Not talking about what I want, because everybody have their own preference. But we're going to give you some techniques so you can really pinpoint what you need out of that relationship to make it work, and pray and hope that you don't fall into pitfalls like these ladies have in these relationships. Okay. And men too. Visualize, know what you need. Okay. To have a healthy relationship. Okay. As well. So this will not just be one-sided. These are going to be techniques that either or can use. All right, guys. Thank you guys for joining me. For all anybody who's new here, please subscribe and please share. Hit that like button. We are growing channel. We have gotten a couple of new subscribers. Shout out to Kim. Kim's Gracious Jewelry. Kim is online. She has shared my channel. and shouted out my channel on her channel. So I appreciate that. And she also sells some great jewelry, guys. I've brought a few things from her and I really enjoyed them. So shout out to Kim. Shout out to always Dr. Linda, Professor Lovely Lady. Thank you for your support. Shout out to my brother Yasha Ben. Let me see when he probably been gone, but sometimes he's in the wind. Not in the wind, but in the clouds listening. Shout out, brother. Thank you for always being there um, and supporting me. Um, I really appreciate it. And guys, look, we're going to do another part of this because we're going to really talk about some techniques on, how not try not to get into these kind of situations. We are going to get into some things, but let's have some techniques when we find ourselves kind of going that way, we can kind of curve back and get out of it and be prepared. So thank you for tuning in. Also next week, probably Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm gonna do a show. I have to go to my daughter's, so I might try to do it from there. I'll be there for a while, a couple few days. And I want to do a show on um these dirty houses and the chaos. And it's really gonna be about the chaos. Normally the chaos that you see in a person's home is the chaos that's in their head, in their mind, and in their life. So we're going to talk about that as well. Um, y'all want to see this whole interview with the girls, go to Sinetta's. But the real interesting one is Napashada actually interviews Janae about what happened with Nature Boy. Look at that, because Janae is still, to me, this is my opinion, in abusive relationship. She's with Solar. Solar is another one who has not healed from the trauma that he went through with Nature Boy, in my opinion. And so now, to me, there are two people who are trauma bonding, and that's usually not a good thing. So we'll talk more on the next one when we do the next relationship sector on these cults and how our people, young people, get caught up in them. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Peace and love to all of y'all. Till the next time. Y'all be careful out there. Be aware. As the Bible says, watch as well as pray. And I'll talk to you guys soon.